Yes.
Already applied. Already applied. Well, I signed up this week.
Ready to roll? Ready to roll? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll get rolling. We'll get rolling. Got it? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Got it, okay. All right. Marcus, I want to announce what they are doing. Were you going to say
We're
something?
going to talk about that, but it's not. Yeah, right. Yeah,
Okay, so I won't announce that.
right.
then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll talk about it during the staff report.
You will.
Thank
Okay,
you, then.
brilliant. All right, welcome. Is this on? No? It's green.
Are you green?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
It's
speak
green?
closely.
Okay, I'll lean into the microphone there. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order at 7:04 PM. And Marcus, could you please call the roll?
Yes. David Hayes,
Present?
Laura O'Donnell,
Present.
Dennis Roberts,
Here.
Trent Shepard,
Here.
Angela Urban,
Present.
Andrew Weiss.
Here.
So we have a quorum, which for us is 4 members presently. So to start in, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay, thank you. And then the minutes, approval to the minutes from June 3rd, the last time that we had a full meeting was June 3rd. Is there,
Sorry, that's June 7th, I might have.
sorry, June 7th, 2023, yeah. Is there a motion to approve?
Okay, I can make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. And a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any corrections or amendments to that? Anything that you spotted? Nope.
Not really, but we can just say that during the meeting, the landmarking for the Canaan Baptist Church was achieved. And so now Canaan Baptist Church is a city landmark as of that
Hooray.
meeting.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for that important note. All members, so we'll vote to approve. All members in favor of approving the minutes, please say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, please say no. Hearing none, the minutes are approved as written. Public input section. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address the Historic Preservation Commission? If so, you will have the microphone for 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes. No one. Okay, thank you. There are no continued public hearings. And to the best of my knowledge, there's no unfinished business. No new public hearings, so we can move to new business, the first order of which is the nomination and election of officers, chair and vice chair. And so the way that this works is that we accept nominations for chair This comes from the commission, and then elect the chair. Then we do the same for the vice chair. This is done through a voice vote and voice nomination. So raising your hand as we vote and saying yes. And we're following Robert's rules here. There isn't anything in our bylaws that specifies the exact procedure here. So the idea is we collect nominations. Someone can nominate another person, you can nominate yourself, and then the nominee is asked, would you be willing to be considered for this? And once we know the slate, then it's the majority among us gets it. So that if we're going through this in alphabetical order and the first person gets 4 votes, then it's done. That's our crossing of the line. So we'll start, is there anything else on that clarification?
Just a point of order. Robert's Rules of Order does not prohibit nomination of oneself, but our past practice has been being nominated by another member.
Oh, okay, all
Right,
right.
and that's where maybe working on our bylaws to be more specific and picking things that the commission would like. But,
Got it.
so
Okay,
back in.
but our normative practice then is you don't nominate yourself.
Correct.
Okay. Plato would approve of that. So, okay. So we can start with the chair. I would like to nominate Angela Urban to be chair. And for this, do we need a second for the nominations?
Yes, because that also
Right, okay. So
goes
for
back
this-
to our past practice. But first, we need to ask Angela if she's willing to serve, because if she's not, then we don't need to search for a second.
Okay. Would you be willing to serve as chair, Angela?
Yes, I would be willing to serve.
I'd like to second Angela.
And I would like to nominate David Hayes for chair.
I would be willing to serve. I'm happy to
Okay.
help however needed, but I also am happy to nominate Angela for this.
And you can be nominated and voted on for multiple offices, and if you happen to be elected for both, then you get to choose which one, and then you know,
hope
go
that
back
doesn't
and
happen.
revote for the
Marcus,
remaining
can we
vacancy.
vote for more than one person?
No, you should
Okay.
only vote for one.
That's where we were talking that
for
through
all.
beforehand, and yeah.
So I imagine that the nomination needs a second, so I'd like to make the second motion.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so just making notes here and trying to keep up with things. David nominated Angela, and the second was from Laura?
Laura.
Okay. And then
Trent?
Trent nominated David, and the second came from Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Anyone else? Like to nominate anyone else?
Oh, all right, and you said you were willing
Oh,
to serve?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so there being no other nominations, then we proceed to the election, and again, you have one vote. And so, starting in alphabet,
Could I ask questions?
I think it's the, going back to Robert's rules, last time we elected, we only had one candidate. So we may have not set past precedent on electing when there's a contested. So then falling back to Robert's rules, it would be basically getting having a vote on the first nominee and then having a vote on the second nominee.
that's
and-
what I thought, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then is it, if the first nominee gets a majority, it stops there? Okay.
That's exactly, that's right. So we
Okay.
do the one, and we do it in the order of nomination.
Right, yes.
Right, yeah, perfect, yeah. So we would start with Angela.
Right. So if you want to, if you can explain that to folks.
Right, so the way this proceeds then is so that each of the nominees, we say, as many are in favor of said person to be chair, say aye, and we ask you to raise your hand too. Marcus records that. And then we do it for the other person, but it's whoever gets the majority is the chair. And then we do this for vice chair as well.
And then I'm wondering if I can ask a question of a candidate, I'll call them.
Yeah, good idea.
I have known David for a long time, and Angie, I know a little bit about you, but not a lot. Maybe, I don't know, to ask your academic qualifications, maybe. I know you're in the business, kind of, but I don't know exactly what. I'm kind of curious.
Sure, yeah. So I work at the Construction Engineering Research Lab. My formal education is in urban planning. I'm an alum from U of I. I'm actually Associate Technical Director at Searle, that location where I work. My professional background, I've worked primarily sustainability the past several years, focusing specifically on climate and environmental issues, past decade, I would say. It's less on the preservation side, except that honestly, the reason I went for this, pursued this career, honestly, is because of the preservation inside, how related that is to sustainability. So I would say my formal background really started from preservation, but really has changed as my career has progressed, with less emphasis in my career towards preservation. So being able to be part of this commission was really important to me, just because this is really where my roots stood when I first got interested. So, yeah, I don't know. What else?
That's more than I knew before, so thank you. And-
So in addition to care about preservation, there's knowledge of planning, and there is great expertise in construction and technical matters, which, as we all know, that's so key to one's understanding of the realities of preservation, being able to see and assess and, following up on that.
And when I think of you, I think of a landscape architect.
Yeah.
Is there more to you than
Uh,
that that would apply to this commission?
Who is that? I keep hearing that guy's name, David Hayes. Who is that? And so actually, I have no degrees in landscape architecture. So I'm head of the Department of Landscape Architecture, but my training's in architecture. My first training, academic training, was through art history, in history of architecture and landscape architecture. So I have a very long interest in the subject. And preservation for me got really illuminated through efforts within this community just to try to save individual buildings. And then through connections with former students, with friends in other places. Rachel Leibowitz, who was here with the state of Illinois, who now works for the National Historic Register, was, although my age, a student. And so my sort of passion for becoming involved came from the realities of seeing things demolished that should not have been demolished. So, yeah. That was nice. Okay, so we proceed with the election component. So, and we'll start with Angela. So as many as are in favor of Angela for chair, say aye, and please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And per the rules,
Congratulations.
that's it. So I'm pleased to say that Angela, you have been elected chair. Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we rinse and repeat for vice chair. So do we have any nominees?
I'd like to nominate David Hayes for vice chair.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I'll second.
And I'd like to nominate Dennis Roberts for vice chair.
And I'm going to intervene because I just realized before the second, I should say, yes, I'm willing to do that. So you've nominated Dennis. Are you willing to be vice chair?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I would like to second the nomination of Dennis to be vice chair.
Thank you.
Got that, Marcus?
Yeah.
No, okay.
The first was a nomination for David by Laura,
Seconded by Angela.
seconded by Angela, and David is willing. And then I got motion by Trent for Dennis,
Yeah,
seconded by whom?
by David.
By David.
Yeah,
And Dennis is willing. Okay.
yeah. Okay. So we proceed in the,
First, you have to ask if anybody else wants to be.
oh, I'm sorry.
Or
Were any
nominate
further
anybody else.
nominations? No, okay. All right, we're ready then. So all of those in favor of David Hayes for vice chair, say aye, and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Done, okay. Wow, Robert's rules makes it really
It
expedient.
takes longer to summarize them and write a
Yeah,
sheet than
yeah.
actually
Okay.
implement them, I must say.
So therefore, the ayes have it, and David Hayes is elected vice chair. So the elections are closed, and officership, thank you. And officership takes place immediately. And that's one of the specifications here, so. Thank you very much. So on to the next item, the monitoring of historic properties. Is there any monitoring to report on existing historic properties by commission members? Oh, right. Do we turn this over? The question was, should Angie be running the meeting now if it's
Yes.
effective immediately?
Yes, the officerships take immediate effect. And we had, so Angela, if you would actually take the gavel.
Okay, and I wanted to just back up because I think we want to mention the preservation month activities.
This is, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. This is what Marcus gave me, and that's not in there. So
That's
please,
okay.
yeah, so you can correlate that.
Okay.
that.
Yep.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
excellent.
So we do need to follow the order of the agenda.
Right, and so just, I wanted to back up because another item under new business that we have is the Historic Preservation Month activities.
Yes.
And planning for that. So I haven't looked in the script yet, but David pointed out that maybe it's not there, so I'll just go off of what I have. So Mayor Marlin will be issuing a proclamation for May. Oh, are you going to be doing that?
Yes.
Okay, apologies,
And
go ahead.
so there's a memo in the packet for Historic Preservation Month activities planning. And it briefly goes into the, what Preservation Month is, the month of May, what the city has done in past years for activities during Preservation Month. Last year, the event was really great. We walked people over from the market at the square. Angela led folks over from there and talked about, landmarks and sites on the way over to Buena Vista Court. And then undergraduates from the university,
Point of order.
people around Buena Vista Court.
Point of order. We have to follow the agenda that's in front of us. So we're jumping around, and we're all the way at the beginning.
But this is Historic Preservation Month activities planning?
How are we all the way down here? Excuse me, I apologize.
So we had 30 people attend, and I appreciate so many members of the commission coming. And it also aided and benefited planning students and students that are interested in architectural history to be able to interact with the public and, actually do things, which the division really likes doing that. So for this year, Mayor Marlin will issue the standard wonderfully written proclamation. It's going to focus a couple items on, there's a mention in there for the landmark nomination for Canaan Baptist Church last year. And then talking about an open house that has been volunteered to be coordinated by the First United Methodist Church of Urbana, Pastor Bob Freeman, and then Dr. Kate Holliday from the university is helping organize that. And that, again, would follow the same sort of format of walking over from the Market at the Square on Saturday, May 11th. There aren't as many landmarks to hit because it's an awfully short walk, but our plan is to either go around or through the mall and talk about some history of, the Urbana Lincoln Landmark Hotel and its history with the mall and the city, and then pop out and hit 3 or 4 stops inside the church. And staff and congregants from the church are going to lead that tour, which is another great opportunity to interact with members of the city.
Did you put all that together, Marcus? Or did it just fall into your lap?
Pastor Freeman has had some interest in, pursuing a local landmark status, and, we're working through those discussions. But during that, he showed me the church, and I'd actually never been in the church.
And I've never been in that church. I've been
So
here
this will be
45
fabulous.
years, and-
They're
yeah.
going to have photographs and show things on tablets and stuff. So even for the things that we don't get to walk through and see, they'll be sharing that with us. And then Dr. Holliday, we're working on collaborations with her for other things as well. And so she's got some students that are interested in helping, similar to last year. So it's taken a lot of work off staff.
And I don't remember if you mentioned this, but Kate Holliday, and the students are putting together a National Register nomination for the church. So
Fabulous.
that's part of the package, which is really
Yeah.
exciting.
Okay, that's all I have for that discussion. Certainly, though, anybody who would like to volunteer to help, we're going to be staffing a gratis table at the Market at the Square, thanks to Brian Heaton, the market manager. Like last year, if you want to stand outside for an hour or two and hand out flyers to people and get them to sign up, that'd be great, or coming along on the tour.
Thanks. Yeah, you answered the question I was about to ask. So I think definitely if there's opportunities that we can support, and if the market time is when we can support, then I think we can do that.
Great. Thank you.
Madam Chair, could you repeat the date of this event?
It's not anywhere other than May 11th.
Saturday, May 11th.
And it'll be following the market, so it'll probably be leaving the market at around 12:15.
All right. Next order of business is the monitoring of historic properties. Is there any monitoring to report on the existing historic properties by commission members? Okay. The next item is the staff report. Marcus?
Staff report is a little short. We've been working on so many things. As we mentioned, Pastor Freeman is interested in possibly doing a local landmark. It might feed off of his national landmarking. So it's really nice when the work can, fulfill two needs, local and national listing. You'll be seeing a presentation from Annie Adams, a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting. I saw that at BPAC a few months ago, and it's like this really ties into historic preservation. We are looking at reviewing the bylaws for all of the boards and commissions, trying to make them a little more consistent between them. So once we have that drafted out, we will be bringing those to you for review. In addition to the open house and walking tour of the United Methodist Church, we're also looking at possibly doing another modern house tour. Dr. Holliday is interested in doing that. She has some graduate students working on a course. There's going to be an exhibit for her course at the Cranard Art Museum next spring. So it might be a little Preservation Month 2025, but we can, maybe stretch Preservation Month back into April or something or at least the event for it. So that's really great. And let's see, I gave a virtual lecture to a historic preservation class at the School of Art Institute of Chicago on the roles of the Historic Preservation Commission and planner. So, educating people on the things that you and I do for historic preservation. We had the landmark in June 7th of last year for Canaan Missionary Baptist Church. We've been wrapping up some of our certificates of appropriateness, primarily one in Buena Vista Court. Andrew Fell finished off Buena Vista Court number 2. Looks really great. Work continues at the Hotel Royer. All of the roof work has been completed, so that certificate is closed out, and then the exterior work continues, so that second certificate is still open and in process. We did determine that certificates of appropriateness do not expire, and they are transferable to a new owner. The ordinance states that no person shall cause to make any undertaking without the city having first issued a certificate of appropriateness, end quote. According to our zoning administrator, Mr. Garcia, once the certificate is issued by the city, the work has been approved. It doesn't matter who the owner is or who does the work, as long as the work follows the approved certificate of appropriateness. Now, we talk to or plan on talking to the new owners. If they don't want to pursue the certificate, then we close it. If they want to continue the certificate under the approved plan, then that certificate stays open until they finish the work. And that's the end of my staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do want to make one follow-up, and this is for people listening too. The name Kate Holliday or Catherine Holliday has come up a couple times, and you might not know who that is. She's a new faculty member. She has at the University of Illinois. She has a 75, sorry, that's my text message horn. She has a 75% appointment in architecture, 25% in landscape architecture, but she comes to us from Texas, where she's done remarkable things for many years, including creating a phenomenal architecture study center there. So she, in terms of the the exhibition that you mentioned there, that is really specifically looking at architectures by Jack Baker, John Replinger, and Dick Williams. But instead of focusing on the buildings and their details and their forms, it's looking at them as frames for cultural activities, artistic performances, musical performances, performance art, and then all of the political conversations that happened within these. So it's really looking at them as incubators of a kind of richness for which this area is known. So the exhibition at the Cranard Art Museum, there's a team of people. I'm part of that. Kate Holliday's on it. John Seidel, the architect Jeff Poss, is part of that. That'll have photographs of the houses as they are now, along with samples of, for example, recordings of music that were performed in the house. And there's going to be programming that goes along with that, so that each corner of the museum will be a kind of simulation of some part of the house. you'll feel like you're in the house as you're experiencing a conversation about politics, a musical performance, a dance performance. So we're very excited about that, and Kate's bringing a lot of energy. The course is called The Experimental House, the one that she's teaching this semester.
And some of the houses are in Urbana and some of the houses are in Champaign? Or, I'm not sure. I guess that's a question.
Yeah, because definitely, well, Erlanger House, I mean, we're picking, which are the key houses, so Erlanger House will be one of them, but, as opposed to Jack's apartment, but, yeah.
Can you repeat, when will that exhibit take place?
It's planned for spring of 2025. Yeah, so.
Thank you, that's really exciting. Okay, so moving on to the study session, and looking forward to hearing about the Sage Walking Trail Tour Preservation. So we welcome Annie Adams, a member of the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, to give us a presentation on a proposed walking trail.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annie Feldmeyer Adams, also known as Annie Adams. And I, because we were all talking about how we got here today, I thought I would share with you how I got here. I went to the University of Minnesota. I grew up in Wisconsin. I went to the University of Minnesota. I got an art degree there. It was self-designed. I moved to Chicago, lived there for many years. I went out to and got a master's degree at the Rhode Island School of Design. And I moved back to Chicago, and my work focuses on creative placemaking. So creative placemaking is what makes a place a place? What's unique about a place? How do you get people to occupy a place? How do you get people to love a place? So I'm on the Urbana, on the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Commission. I also work for the University of Illinois. And I've been working with the commission on the Sage Walking Trail Tour. I've presented a few times to them, and I just noted the dates on there. And I am presenting to you, and then I would like to just continue to present to each of the commissions and factions, because I think a lot of us don't know what's going on in each other's rooms, really. So I sort of think this might be a good way to kind of get people on board. So what is it? The Sage Trail Walking Tour is based on the successful Turquoise Trail Walking Tour, a 2.5-mile loop through downtown Tucson that highlights structures in 23 sites of historical interest and is marked by a turquoise line on the sidewalk. The Turquoise Trail is a 2.5-mile loop. The bright blue turquoise color was chosen because it was the only paint the city of Tucson had available that did not signify a water line or underground utility. It's my understanding it was extra paint. So you can, I'll show you a better picture of the paint, but the bright blue 4-inch turquoise line is on the sidewalk, not on the street. And it is, the machine that's used to make the paint is the one that is used in the middle of the road to stripe roads. So you can see a little bit of a better line there of the Turquoise Trail. So you can be standing on one side of the street and see that it's over there and walk. Walking the Turquoise Trail, you'll loop by hotel entrances, restaurants, bars, murals, sculptures, historical markers, historic neighborhoods, museums, parks, landmarks, and city buildings. It's an enjoyable way to explore the city without a map or a mobile phone and not get lost. As a visitor to Tucson's downtown, you'll find it hard to miss and easy to learn about and discover the map with an internet search. So I just kept seeing this blue line everywhere, and finally I was like, what is this? Radical, it's a radical concept. But don't worry, we will have both. we will let you experience. I also do Just a little background. I did something many years ago called Imbibe Urbana. I did Urbana First Fridays, and now I do something called the Urbana Amble Front Yard Garden and Art Tour. And I have found with the Urbana Amble, people like a printed map, but they also like a digital map. So I was like, can't we just do one? I was like, no. I was like, all right. So this is the turquoise. This is actually an older version of the map I prefer. So that's why I'm showing it to you. This is a picture of their printed map. And then as you can see, there is a turquoise, there's just a turquoise line that runs along the sidewalk. And then you can kind of see in this image, there's a circle with a number 12 on it. And on your map, that would be number 12. And then you'd turn around and you would see this cool sculpture. Could Urbana have a sage trail walking tour of downtown? So just to let you know, there's the concept, I'm working with like citizens, and there's a crew of people who are sort of like the brainchild behind all of this. There is a gorgeous 3-mile loop we would love to do that would get us all the way to the university, take you to the Woolly Mammoth, past Breadco, you cross over at Michigan, you walk down Michigan, you see Carl Park. So that's a gorgeous 3-mile loop, but we're going to start with the downtown and see if we can get this 2-mile loop done. So the 2-mile loop through downtown Urbana would highlight structures and 20-plus sites of cultural interest and is marked by a continuous 4-inch purple line on the sidewalk. The 3-mile loop would be green. I thought the university would have less trouble with green than purple going through their property. If the loop, it was just a thought. If that loop is successful, we could pursue a 3-mile trail, a green loop from downtown to the university. And again, it's a loop, so it's a complete circle. You can start anywhere, you can end anywhere. You're gonna see a map. I made it exactly 2 miles because if there's something I've learned living around engineers, they really like whole numbers. So if I were to tell them it's a 2-mile loop and they went out and walked it and it was 2.5, they would be, Annie, what is your problem? So we can, obviously this is all open to discussion, but I just want you to know that's how the 2 came about. I did a lot of walking. I think I nailed it with the 2 miles. So what will you see on the Sage Trail? Walking the Sage Trail, you will loop by hotel entrances, restaurants, bars, murals, sculptures, historical markers, historic neighborhoods, parks, landmarks, and city buildings. It'd be an enjoyable way to explore the city without a map or a mobile phone. And I think really importantly, it would connect the Urbana Farmers Market to downtown and the Rose Bowl's back porch with live music. Who is our audience for this? Residents new to the city wanting to explore and exercise, visitors to the university looking for a guided walk. I think a lot of us know that people come to Urbana, they have about 48 hours to decide where they're going to live. If they're going to live in Champaign, Urbana, Savoy, Mahomet, this might be a nice way to let them get a feel if this is the type of city they're looking to live in. And tourists interested in historical markers. So partners would be, I'm pretty sure we could get a walking grant from possibly America Walks, but others. My concept would be that the Urbana Free Library would have a PDF of the map. The Urbana Free Library is open, it has bathrooms, it has water, and it has very friendly people. The Urbana Arts and Culture Commission, this is you, Urbana Historic Preservation Commission, the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, Urbana Park District, University of Illinois, MTD, VO-Ride, Hotel Royer, Urbana. These are just some tour partners where we could host maps. So this is a picture of the map, the 2-mile map, and I started in front of the Hotel Royer. I'm just going to verbally walk you through it, and then I'll take you to a better image. Just kind of depends how you map things in your head. So you start in front of the Hotel Royer, you head towards a store called Bohemia, you take a right, you do a mid-block crossing towards Cinema Gallery, you go through Goose Island, you take a left, you head towards Rose Bowl, you take a right, you head down to Boneyard Creek, you take a left, you head over to the giant Burr Tree, you head through the parking lot, you go through the Boneyard Creek, you head around Station Theater, you come up the street, anyway, it loops, and then you eventually end up at I did all mid-block crossings, so you don't have to wait for any signals, and they're actually safer than signalized intersections, but you don't need to know that. So I did all mid-block crossings, and so you can just keep moving. You don't have to stop. And then it heads over into, it heads you past Lincoln Square Mall. There's actually, oh, I didn't put that one in. All right. Oh, there it is. It heads you, yep, towards the, towards the courthouse, mid-block crossing. You head towards the mall, and then you head through a neighborhood. You head towards Leal School, that gorgeous WPA building, and then you head through the neighborhood and back to the library, and you're back. So I believe this is my next slide. If you would like to give me the next slide, that'd be great. Oh, okay. So this is a digital slide, a digital image of the existing loop. And as you can see, if you click on different images, you can pull things up and you can see murals, you can see churches, you can see houses. And so this is just sort of the existing map and what you'd walk around and what you'd be able to see. There is a QR code that will take you to the digital map, and then there is also a short URL. And that's what I got. So the next steps are to, what I would love to ask for would be, I actually wrote it down so I can say it right. For a resolution of support for a walking trail and for the city permission to pilot temporary sidewalk markings and signs along the trail. With the resolution of support, I would like to present the trail to Urbana City Council. So the next step would be to put down like chalk markings. So people would be able to follow along on the ground, and people would be able to iterate on if this is a good loop, if the loop needs change. I mean, I worked with quite a few people to get the loop down, so that was really helpful for me. So, you bet. Which? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it heads down Birch, and the one thing, so obviously being on BPAC, you're like, the sidewalks have to be ADA accessible. So what the city would be in charge of is making sure the streets were ADA accessible, and they would be in charge of the paint. And then I would ask the library to host the map. They have a historical preservation space there, so I could work with them, and so it would be a partnership that way. But what I discovered on Birch Street, I was walking down Birch this past week, and I discovered actually if you walk on one side of the street, you actually don't have to repair anything. Is the simple answer to that. But yeah. So it's down Birch, and the only tricky part, honestly, in my opinion, of the loop is it cuts through the school.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, that's the only tricky part. Now, it is, obviously, we all know it's public property. We know the city owns, we know the city owns the street. We know the city owns the sidewalk. And they have those big fences up because the kids, not so much to keep the kids in, but it's because they don't want the balls to be hitting
Right.
people and things. So that's the only tricky part, is it cuts through that little space.
And there is a gate there
There is, yep.
on the Oregon Street side.
Yep.
And generally, when school's in session, they close it, not to say you can't open it. but
Right.
The kids are out there kicking the ball in the street.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
if you're a visitor.
You've thought about this, and
Yeah, and if you're a
I just
visitor, you
wanted-
might not feel welcome to open it. You might feel, like I wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't know if I can do this.
but if
you know.
the sage line went, or the purple line went through there, that'd give you some more confidence.
Yeah, yeah, if you see it, you'd be like, or if there was like a little sign that said, okay, for Sage only or
It's a
something.
really crummy sidewalk right through.
Yeah. Beautiful trees, though. There's some gorgeous little trees growing there. And I know that the school is thinking about redoing that big green space, so I kind of thought that might be a nice thing to highlight. Yeah. But yeah, we can obviously, there's also the other the other space I thought about, because it does head by, if you're on Birch, you can see Lincoln's house. It's like right to the left. It's not Lincoln's house, but it's where Lincoln slept. But there is that cute little alley a little bit further down, which is the one that I would probably end up going for if the school is like, this is too weird. I think I would just be figuring out how to do the cute little, it's like, I forget the name of it, but there's that little alley that cuts over. Because I'm trying to make a safe space. The other thing too is the Boneyard Creek, we stay above ground. We do not go below grade at any point. People are just not comfortable going below grade, especially at night. I tried to make it a space that you could do, let's say you came in and, it was 10 o'clock at night and you just, you're staying at the hotel and you're like, can I just go for a walk? And they're like, yeah, just hop out there, just follow that loop. It's super safe, go for it. So that was one thing I really tried to consider is how do you go through spaces that are very comfortable, you don't feel awkward in. So that was another thought, because people always ask, why don't we go below grade? I'm like, well.
I love how this goes through a neighborhood as
Yeah.
well as downtown. I'm curious about the decision to pull the route all the way down to Oregon. I note that on this map, you don't have anything marked along the way as something to see. And I'm just thinking about, things that might be a block north of there or something, if there's a little more circuitous route there, that it might get you close to like All Souls Presbyterian, for example, pretty beautiful building. So I was just curious about that, because you cross big parking lots.
Yeah,
to
lots
get
of
to-
parking lots.
Yeah.
We're really in love with our parking lots here.
So just as a suggestion, there might be a way to weave it more around Lincoln Square to get you, back to Ray Street, and then wind around a little bit, and even come around Leal, because I think that the north side of Leal is pretty interesting too. It's right up flush with the street, and that corner has the great garden that the children tend with teachers. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, and that northern exposure. So I didn't know, but maybe there was a specific reason for Oregon to be,
None whatsoever. I was just trying to figure out my normal walking routes. And so this was just sort of how I normally move. So that was all. It wasn't,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm open to any thoughts or ideas. I mean, that's how I ended up with that nice mid-block crossing. Like, Bill Brown was like, hey, Annie, what if you move it over here and go, like, he sort of helped me move through he was like, can you move stuff over here? I've had a variety of people make suggestions, so I would love any thoughts or ideas of how to get it to work better.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I would agree with David Hayes that it takes the walking tour awfully far south which doesn't really focus on the downtown, which I think is pretty important. And I'm a little bit surprised that you don't use Main Street, which is many historic marked houses on it. And we've just made a new historic landmark at Canaan Baptist Church, which is a unique Royer building that we're celebrating. They're soon to be having a plaque dedicated at their church. And take it through, past, Strawberry Fields and other businesses, in that area. I think would be more useful for people and.
Yeah, I
maybe
did
more
want to go
focused.
down. I did want to go down Main Street. I really wanted to see all those gorgeous houses. We have a hard time. That street's tough to cross. So you got to imagine you have people who are pushing strollers or pushing accessible devices. So we have to make sure that people can safely cross. Main Street right now cars drive very fast down all of it.
You know, it's
But-
interesting, I have never seen that. I've been on Main Street fairly often, but of course, what you're thinking about doing is also engaging the city in probably making some improvements and maybe also accessible street entries
Yeah,
from
it'd
the
be great.
sidewalks as well.
That would
to
be
make
awesome.
to make this a really viable walking tour.
Yeah. So, and that's the other issues I couldn't figure out how to get from, if you go down to the Boneyard Creek and you're sticking to 2 miles, and again, I'm totally open, if you can figure out how to get the loop over to Main Street and back again. So that's all. It's a game. I mean, it's literally like the game is how can you keep it moving? But yeah, I really wanted Main Street.
Yeah, well, maybe the Historic Preservation Commission can put some input into your
would love
plan,
that.
because so far this is the first time we've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it'd be great. Be totally open to that.
And
Yeah.
your goal is to keep it at 2 miles, so. and-
Yeah, if we say 2 miles, if we make it 2.5, people won't be intimidated. You can also do it on your lunch hour. I know we're going to be getting a couple hundred new people, working downtown here, so I think it would be really nice for people. If you just can't make it too long, because people are intimidated by it, but if it's too long, I feel like, well, it'll take me an hour. But if you're like, oh, 45 minutes, I got that. I can do that.
Annie, looking at your next step
Mm-hmm.
of a resolution of support, would that be simply a general resolution of support for the concept of a walking loop and not a specific route?
No, I think the route is, all along I've known the route will be the trickiest part. Because, yeah, for all the reasons, right? Because once it's set, it's fixed, right? You're not going to go back. You're not going to change your maps. You're not going to change your loop. Like, once it's set, it's set. So the route is really the trickiest part.
Well, and I wanted to add, I really like that you do include the Boneyard area. And while I wasn't familiar with the Turquoise Trail in Tucson, I have done other loops like this. For example, in Boston, of course, there's a very famous trail that I've taken myself with my kids, not having any kind of GPS or paper map, and just followed the brick trail, walking trail. So the same, I think it's excellent, especially for newcomers, or like you mentioned, just getting some exercise outside. So I like that. I do think, because this is the first time we've seen the map, if you're willing, and it sounds like you are, for us to kind of, think about, well, what's missing here from the preservation side that we'd really like to highlight within downtown, or just, as you have, getting more into the neighborhood areas. We definitely have a lot of, walking trails we've done, or walking tours we've done in the past, but also there are significant landmarks that we might want to make sure are highlighted here.
Yeah, and make sure, like, when you're, like, go out and walk and look around, and if you're like, I'm bored, right? Just be aware of that and say, not so much. And the Turquoise Trail right now, it goes through that giant parking lot behind 25 o'clock. I'm not crazy about that. There is a mural there. I'm not crazy about it, but that's like one space where I'm like, eh. And what else? What are the other spaces where I'm like, eh? I'm trying to think, this area. I just know, like, the 3 Mile Loop is, like, beautiful. It's just pow pow. Like, it's like you just walk it and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And we can even, like, at some point, people are going to come to you. There's, I always forget the name of the band. There's some band, they have a house. Polyvinyl has a very famous band, and they bought a house, and I keep wanting to call them The Weekend. What is their name? It's
Football house? Or football
American
club?
football. Thank
American
goodness,
football.
yes. American football house. So, on that one, you would just, like, point to it and be like, oh, it's over there. Because that's what people are looking for. People are trying to find the American football house. But it doesn't fit into this. It doesn't fit into this space here. It's too far. It's not right. But yeah, I would love if we could figure out how to get just even 2 or 3 of those cute, because I actually do a daily walk. I do a daily walk from where I work, and I go down Main Street. And I was just so sad when I couldn't figure out how to get it in here.
So would the best way to get input, just keeping in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, I think would be simply emailing comments to you, and then we can make sure that you've got, Annie's actually got a board and commission email
Could we
address.
have the drawing of the route distributed by you?
Yes.
Okay, because all I have is what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, it's too hard,
And
yeah.
I've got if you said what the meaning of sage is, I know what it,
Oh, yeah, thank you for
it
asking.
went right over my head if you've said it
I did not
already.
say the meaning of sage.
Why are we calling it that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I came up with it because I needed a word. I needed some way to talk about it. I was going off of Lincoln. I was thinking about Lincoln, and then I was thinking about plants. And so in my personal fantasy world, I would love if there was a huge mural on the street in front of the library that was a sage plant with a compass on it. And so it would spin off there into your purple and your green loops. And that's the only reason I had sage. I started thinking about native plant names, and they all were just too long and bumbly. So I was trying to come up with something that was easy, repeatable, and memorable. And I ended up with sage. And again, I'm open to new names. If we have new names,
Could
Yeah.
one of the paint colors on the sidewalk be sage green?
yeah,
Or is that-
exactly.
Or is that too,
No, that's,
boring?
yeah, no, it's absolutely, like, I think that's the reason why I kept coming back to sage. I tried a bunch of other words, and I was like, well, sage works, because, it's about wisdom, and it seemed to work, and so I just stuck with it, but I am totally open to other words, if people have other words. But yeah, that's how I came up with the purple and the green, was sage green and purple. But yeah, if the other loop goes through the university, though, that's the only thing, is I could see them being more open, I know, to orange or blue, but to green, which is why I went with purple. And I don't think purple downtown, it's a little pop. So that's it. But again, open to a new name. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, so I appreciate your comments. Yeah, I really think that it'd be nice to be able to think about this for a little bit. There's,
Cool.
As far as like the historic aspects of it, walking behind Lincoln Square Mall through the parking lot and then down to Oregon Street seems to be, to me, misdirection of what could be potentially a much more interesting route. But I don't know, how set are you on this? It sounds like you're very set on it, and I'm just sort of wondering how flexible you would
I
be.
am not set on it. I
Okay.
have just somehow managed to figure out a 2-mile route that I like walking.
And are you anxious to get this done right away? I mean, you're to get
I
this
don't
assessed
know.
done?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, I think the next steps are to like just keep presenting it to commissions and saying, what do you think? Like, let's just try to get people on board for this idea, and let's just see what people want. Right, in my dream fantasy world, I would have chalk, I would, go purchase that chalk paint and start putting little like chalk paint stencils on the ground this summer, but I don't know if we're gonna be there. I think it's better for us to really think about a really fun walking loop that you
Yeah.
enjoy doing, that you find interesting, that has interesting stuff on it, that says, yeah, this is my gorgeous city, this is where I live. Yeah.
And I really do support using the Boneyard Creek pathways as much as possible. And maybe you don't know it, maybe people don't know it, but at the corner of Main Street and Springfield, there's the parking lot. The city parking lot goes to the north toward the creek. And there's a triangle in there that had been dedicated years ago as Founders Park, which has never been really developed, but it would be a wonderful chance to, since that's the location of the original Busey log cabin where the city of Urbana was actually chosen as the county seat for the city during an evening soiree at the Busey cabin. I think that even though right now it remains just a triangle of land, it is a city park area, and I think it really it's time to maybe celebrate that a little more deeply on this trail. And also, the Royer plaques that have been established and put up along the Main Street on various buildings of historic value, including the courthouse, the library, and about like 8 others. They should all be accessed on this walking path as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that's nice about that Triangle Park is there's a place for people to sit. So the other thing to think about is make sure to walk people in the shade. As much as right now it's kind of miserable outside, just make sure to put people on the shady side of the street. That's the only, if you're on a street that has that option of sun or shade, just something to think about, because we all know how much it does get warm here. But yeah, that park, I think that park is absolutely delightful. And that's another thing to think about is, I was walking it the other day with someone and she's like, I don't know what I think about this. I go, well, trust me, if it's on the Sage Trail, they're going to fix it up. And she's like, ah. So that's one thing to think about. And that's why,
In your visuals, you might want to switch out the Royer Hotel plaque, which has peeled and is being replaced this spring, with one of the plaques along Main Street that is in good shape, and it would be like a nicer presentation.
I'll do that. And also make sure when you get the digital one to check out, I think it's a lot of your work that I have put in here. What I've done is I've put short summaries of different spaces. And the concept is by the end of it, if you actually do read these, and they're short and they're tight, and you can send links to people to get more information. But the concept would be that you would get a feel for the city and understand the city history by the time you had done the trail and you'd read all the bits and pieces. So, yeah. I have to say what's amazing for me as a person who didn't create all this, as you all, I suspect, are the people who have made a lot of these things here, is Royer is what an interesting architect. I mean, he was like, oh, you want me to make a WPA building? I'll make a WPA building. Oh, you want me to make, he's just like, what kind of building do you need me to make? I'll make that, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. That's it. So, yeah, so Marcus will share it out. I'm open to whatever. I'm open to a new name. I'm open to a new path. And I think what I'll do is just keep collecting comments and keep collecting maps and ideas, and see where we end up. Does that sound good?
Yep. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much, Annie. We really appreciate you sharing this with us, and we look forward to continuing to collaborate.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate all your work. And honestly, this map here would not be what it was without your work and the people who have been here before. And not even the actual map, the actual physical buildings. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we have one more item on the agenda, but before we get to that final item, which is the recognition of Alice Novak for her service to the Urbana Historic Preservation Commission, and of course, the City Hall's appreciation towards Alice. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to announce?
I have a thought going way back to the minutes. When we were approving minutes of the meeting from June of last year, which was a long time to remember things. I wondered if, when the minutes are done, we could just send them out then, not necessarily for approval, but to have a look at them while our memories are fresh. Would that make any sense?
I will ask about the protocol for that. I understand,
There-
I understand the thinking about that, getting it fresh, especially, our Design Review Board Commission has not met for 3 years, and so they're going to be asked to review and approve minutes from 3 years ago. So I can completely understand where you're coming from. We'll have to check and see if that is possible. But thank you for the suggestion.
Anything else before our last item? Okay, thank you. Well, Alice, we have so much gratitude that we want to express towards you, and of course, we want to give you an opportunity to come up and speak if you would like to. But before I do that, I just want to express my own appreciation and gratitude. You've been a mentor to me over the past decade, but also, founder of this commission. I think very few of us would be standing here without your mentorship, your dedication to preservation, the countless surveys. I know even myself as a student I was able to learn and conduct in this city. Just such valuable history that you have brought forth, and so I just want to, from my heart, just thank you for everything, and on behalf of the commission, of City Hall, we thank you for what you've brought to this city, and everything that we have regarding preservation here. So, Marcus, yes. Oh. And if anyone else wants to say anything, please, go ahead.
Should I talk now? Yep. Well, January 14th, 1999, Alice and I were approved as part of the batch of 7 of the original members of this commission. And it's been an honor to sit next to her and by her and work with her for 25 years. It doesn't seem like that long, but it's been a while. And I'm going to miss her institutional knowledge, her knowledge of building types and styles that sometimes confuses me, her ability to run a meeting even when it gets a little heated. Often when there's this size of audience, there's more going on than showing appreciation. Her dedication to preservation in general and to this commission, all the extra hours she's put in that, going to approve things at the city building, administrative approvals, that all takes time, planning, historic preservation months for years. It's just irreplaceable, I think, really, and I will miss you, and we will miss you as a commission. So, thanks for all those good years together, Alice.
I third the nomination. Alice, I first knew you as somebody who was mentoring students because your office is effectively, well, it's next to our main office. So I saw you in that way, and I heard, stories from others about how inspiring you'd been to them. I appreciated immediately the fact that not only were you teaching people how to write a nomination, how to fill out a form, but you were helping them understand why they were doing that. And that in addition to teaching it, you were practicing. You're engaged. Not everybody does that in the university, right? So the mission of the university, of a public university, is a land grant is, in theory, to do exactly that. But the nature of the University of Illinois for a long time was to kind of privilege distance. But you've been in it. So it was unsurprising to me that how to write a letter, how to express concern, how to keep calm even when I was really, really frustrated. And then also through you and some of the people who you've mentored, it's like how to keep going even though you didn't win. This is heartbreaking work. When you win, it's joyful, and when you don't, it's heartbreaking. But you keep going. So I really appreciated that. And then you recognized that this is something I care about, and you invited me, to consider becoming part of this group. So it's been really wonderful to do that and to keep that connection with you, to grow that connection with you. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd really like to add my congratulations to your really inspiring leadership of the Historic Preservation Commission. And I think about all the activities that you allowed to happen and coordinated to happen. I remember being rather amazed that you could conduct a workshop during Historic Preservation Month about uncladding a house from its aluminum siding, and that somebody agreed to do it. And of course, you know, it was your inspiration that allowed the Historic District Downtown to be created, you know, and you took that all the way to the Historic Commission in Illinois State, and just a lot of personal time and energy you put into it. You were the kind of the terra firma, the rock of the Historic Preservation Commission for so many years. And I just think that it's just wonderful that you're being recognized tonight. Congratulations.
All right, so how should we present this award? Is it okay to come up? Okay.
And no city business will be discussed after we are adjourned.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all the good wishes on my account. And yes, oh, pardon me. Yeah.
Terry picked that out for you, Alice. She's got good taste.
Anyway, I'm not dead yet, but and I still have energy in me. So I see retirement as an opportunity to drive you guys nuts full time. So really, this was just such a great experience most of the time. Yeah, it's, you know, to go out and do battle with attorneys and other people. But I'm just so grateful for the times that I've been able to meet new people and meet people like minds like us, and get things done. And it really takes an army of a variety of people, including city folks. And I always, you guys know, anytime I have a chance, I would brag on the city staff that we have. And they are fabulous, and we've been really lucky for many, many years to have lots of good folks on planning staff. And we're able to get more done in Urbana because of that, and everybody benefits from that. So anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alice. So we will now adjourn officially the public meeting at, let's see what time it is. 8:15 p.m. We welcome people to stay and celebrate with us and Alice. No business will be discussed after this meeting is adjourned.